The night she thought she was invisible was the night everything changed. In the quiet of an empty penthouse, while the city below pulsed with careless wealth, a woman cleaned floors no one noticed and carried a past no one bothered to ask about. She believed there were no witnesses to her exhaustion, her faith, or her small acts of honesty. She was wrong. Somewhere in the shadows, a man who owned half the skyline stood still, holding his breath, because a single signature on a forgotten page had just shattered everything he thought he knew about power and people. If you believe in kindness, in quiet courage, and in second chances that arrive when no one is watching, take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. Stories like this only matter when they reach hearts that still care. Her name was Grace Holloway, a woman in her early 40s living in the United States, raised in a modest Christian home where integrity was taught as a daily practice, not a performance. Life had not unfolded gently for her. Her husband passed away suddenly years earlier, leaving behind hospital bills, a small daughter, and a grief so deep it changed the shape of her days. Grace worked wherever she could, often at night, cleaning offices and luxury homes while the world slept. She learned to move quietly, to exist between hours, to leave places better than she found them without expecting thanks. One of her regular jobs was a high-rise penthouse owned by Lucas Bradford, a billionaire known for his sharp instincts and colder reputation. His wealth came from real estate and acquisitions, but his silence came from loss. Years earlier, he had walked away from his family's legacy, cutting ties with a father who believed compassion was weakness. Lucas built an empire proving the opposite, or so he told himself. Recently, something inside him had begun to crack. He found himself unable to sleep, wandering his own property at night, hiding from the expectations of the man he had become. That evening, Lucas stayed behind without informing his staff. He wanted to watch the city from the shadows, unseen, untitled, just another man alone with his thoughts. When Grace arrived, she believed the apartment was empty as always. She moved through the space with practiced care, dusting surfaces that reflected lives she could never imagine living. Her movements were slow but intentional, each task done with respect, as if the space itself mattered. As she cleaned Lucas's private office, she noticed a stack of old documents left out on the desk. She did not pry, but one folder had fallen open, revealing papers yellowed with age. As she tidied, one page caught her attention, not for its wealth or importance, but for the name printed at the bottom. Her breath hitched. It was a name she had not seen in decades, the signature unmistakable even now. Grace froze. Memories flooded back her father, a gentle man who taught Sunday school and worked as an accountant for small businesses, refusing bribes and shortcuts even when it cost him promotions. Years ago, he had taken on a case involving a powerful developer. When he refused to falsify records, he was quietly blacklisted. His health declined. The family struggled. Grace remembered him saying that doing right was its own reward, even when no one clapped. The signature on the page was his. Grace did not cry. She did not panic. She carefully placed the document back where it belonged, smoothing the edges, whispering a prayer of thanks that his integrity had not been erased. She continued cleaning, her hands steadier now, her heart lighter in a way she could not explain. Whatever that paper meant, she trusted that truth had a way of resurfacing. What Grace did not know was that Lucas was watching from the hallway, unseen, unmoving. He had stepped closer when he heard her pause, curiosity pulling him forward. When he saw her reaction to the document, the reverence with which she handled it, something in him shifted. He recognized the signature, too. It belonged to the man who had once saved his company from a catastrophic legal collapse by refusing to manipulate numbers, forcing Lucas's father to confront his own wrongdoing. That honesty had changed the course of the business, though it cost the accountant everything. Lucas felt a tightening in his chest he had not felt since childhood. He had spent years believing that power was earned by force, not by faith. Watching Grace move quietly through his office, honoring a man she clearly loved without knowing she was seen, dismantled that belief piece by piece. Over the following weeks, Lucas began leaving small things out intentionally, observing. Grace returned lost items. She fixed things beyond her job description. She left notes reminding him to restock first aid kits and replace burned-out lights, never signing her name. Each act was simple, invisible, and profoundly human. Lucas ordered a background check, not to control, but to understand. When he learned who Grace was, what she had endured, and how closely her life was tied to a man he had wronged by proxy, shame settled over him like a weight. He realized his empire stood partly on sacrifices he had never acknowledged. Change did not come loudly. It came in policies rewritten, wages increased, and scholarships quietly funded in name of integrity. Lucas reached out to the families his father's decisions had hurt, starting with Grace's. He did not reveal himself immediately. He wanted to act before he spoke. Grace noticed the changes, but did not assume they were because of her. She simply gave thanks and continued living with the same quiet strength she always had. Her daughter received an anonymous scholarship offer months later. Medical debts she thought would never disappear were suddenly resolved. Grace prayed for whoever was responsible, believing that blessings, like burdens, were often carried anonymously. If this story has touched your heart, if it has reminded you that kindness practiced in secret still matters, please take a moment to comment, and share this video so it can reach someone who needs hope tonight. Eventually, Lucas did step forward, not with fanfare, but with humility. He acknowledged the past, honored Grace's father publicly, and established an ethics foundation in his name. The press called it a redemption story. Grace called it grace. Just before we end, we have a special request. Comment the word integrity if you believe that doing right when no one is watching still changes the world. On her last night cleaning the penthouse, Grace paused by the window, watching the city lights shimmer like distant stars. She no longer felt invisible, not because someone had finally seen her, but because she had never truly been unseen at all. And somewhere behind those lights, a man who once hid from his conscience finally understood that the greatest signatures in life were not written on contracts, but on hearts.